That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
Welcome to episode 189 of That Great Business Show, home of great business tips, insights and opportunities on every episode, delivered in our commute-friendly package or on board Aer Lingus long haul, where we are their podcast partners. Unlock the full potential of your business with Mentors Work, Ireland's award-winning, fully government-funded mentoring programme designed to fuel the growth of your business, no matter the sector or size. Mentors Work will help transform your business by providing tailored guidance through one-on-one mentoring sessions, upskilling workshops, as well as networking opportunities. Together with your mentor, you'll also craft a customized 6-month business plan to propel your business forward. Tried and tested and already empowering over 3,000 Irish businesses. Register for free today on mentorswork.ie. On this episode, we'll answer those two big questions for you about broadband. Who is cheapest and what speed do you actually need? And as always, we do business differently. For example, where else would you hear from not the Glam Reaper, but the Glam Reaper? She's here all the way from New York City to tell the tale of her unique burial business. Now, 20 plus years ago, when broadband provider Pure Telecom was founded, there was endless chat about speed and availability. Now it's gone much more mundane as the nationwide broadband plan continues to be rolled out. Years late maybe, but at least it's happening. And for those trying to make a buck out of the business, though, it's become far more a commodity play. Once there's an acceptable speed, and I will be asking what that should or could be, then it's down to price and service. But don't mention service to air. Paul Connell is CEO and co-founder of Pure Telecom and joins me now on That Great Business Show. Paul.
Good afternoon, Conall. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. So, Pure Play.
Yes.
Pure Telecom.
Pure Telecom.
Pure grit, because I was reading the story. And you started off literally with nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
And you started making phone calls, which is relevant, or which is the way to do it, I suppose, if you're in telecoms business.
Myself and my business partner, we left the glass-plated offices watching the pheasants cross the lawn to, as you say, a little office down Sallymount Avenue, drawing lots as to who cleans the toilet on a Monday morning. So it was a little baptism of fire.
But you knew what you were getting into because you smelt something, didn't you?
Yes, I smelt the way forward, all right. I said to Alan at the time, my business partner, Alan McConnell, let's give this a year. Let's see if we can actually generate enough business in a year that will give us some kind of green shoots. And that's what we did. And you make it sound easy. Come on. Everybody who sets up a business, they dream of what you've managed to do. Yeah.
Well, so what's your magic formula?
When we got into, we've been in telecom since 1996, and it was a very simple business. Trap, bill, collect. That was the formula. You trap the customer, you bill them, and you collect the money. Now, to reduce down your churn, you kept that customer nice and warm. You wrapped them up in cotton wool, and that's how you reduce down your... And that's still the case today. But it certainly has changed over the years.
And one of the things that you've done is that you've gone away from, not altogether, obviously, from business customers, and then you went in and started trying to give Joe Public his or her broadband and or telecoms.
Yes, and I think it was 2007, a company approached me and they said, an Australian company, would you be interested in buying our residential base? And I said, well, yeah, of course I would have, absolutely. And Alan said to me, what do we know about residential telecoms? And I said, well, how hard could it be? How different could it be? And the reality was, it was completely different.
Such as?
So I suppose I used to, years ago when we set up and we were selling to business customers, and I'd be out on a Friday afternoon having a pint, and I'd find, I'd get a call to say one of my largest business customers has left, and I'd nearly go into free fall for the weekend. Today, with my residential customer base, if one of those, it's a matter of, as much as I love my residential customers, there's certain levels that I expect to leave every month, and there's certain levels that I expect to gain every month. So it's not, I wouldn't say commodity is the right word, but it's volume based.
But it is a commodity now. I mean, does anybody really care where they get their broadband or their telecoms from?
No, they don't care where they get it from, but they sure as hell care about their customer service after that.
Service, yes, and we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
I want you to start giving out a bit of your opposition.
I can't do that.
It's no bad goal. Come on, everybody's doing it. And price. And the problem about price is there's only one way that if you're trying to win is by cutting price, or am I wrong?
The price is at rock bottom. You know, you turn around to a guy building a house down in Mullingar today and you say to him, right, I'm going to charge you 20 grand for your electricity installation. I'm going to charge you 20 grand for your gas installation. And I'm going to charge you 200 euros for your broadband installation. He'll go, 200 euros? How could you do that to me? Now, the reality is it's expensive. And, you know, we all watch Netflix. I'm a Netflix addict. I'm an Amazon Prime. You name it, I'm an addict now at this stage. But you have to pay for the road for it to go down. And it's just not good enough today to keep paying. And Netflix and co are upping the rates. And the constantly our prices are going down, the broadband, which I'd like to say Pure Telecom has never raised the price. But unfortunately, the time is coming that we will be raising a price. He who pays the piper must, you know.
So who are you having to pay? Are you paying SIRO, is it? Or
so when we got into telecoms, we looked at rolling out our own network. And I said at the time, this would be a little bit like setting up a Spar shop to compete with Tesco's. It's all about scale. It's all about size. And by rolling out our own network, you can see it with some of my competitors. They've been at it for years and years and years, and they still haven't been able to compete with Air. So there is only one real network in the country, and that's Air's network. There is SIRO coming up through DSB and Vodafone, but they still don't have the scope that Air have. When we started off, I think there was 5 or 6% network utilisation. That's still much the same today. It might be up to 8%.
what does that mean in English now?
That of all their network, only 10% or 8% is being used at any one point in time.
Really?
So there's this huge network and there's very few people on it.
That doesn't sound like a good business, is it?
Well, it's expensive. It's expensive to roll out network, and that's the game plan. I'm far too stupid to understand.
But if you're not getting your customers in, like you're missing out on big profits, bigger profits.
I often remember selling to a business customer, and we were buying a line off Verizon back at 20 years ago. And I said, how much are you going to charge me for that line to Verizon? And they said 200,000 euros. And I said, well, I can't pass that on to a customer. How is it that expensive? Because you're the only guy on it. And unfortunately, that's become a little bit, now it is a case of there's average pricing straight across the network. So I'm able to go in, you sell to a residential customer at 30 or 35 euros a month. Most of my competitors, actually in April, most of my competitors kicked in with their cost of inflation index price increase, which I'd like to say we haven't.
But you're going to. You've just said so.
I think eventually...
How much are you going to do? Come on.
Yeah, well, it has to increase. But in saying that...
How much? 5%, 8%, 10%?
It's going to increase 5%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more?
No. But what we'd like to think we're doing, and what we're not really increasing straight across the board. What we're trying to do is upgrade people's broadband connections and give them a faster speed at the same price.
Perfect segue, because I did start this whole thing by saying we're going to find out what speed do you need, because from your website, you can only give me 1 gig.
Yes.
And there are others who can give me 2 gigs.
Yes.
But do I need it?
You definitely will need it. If you look at, I was in Germany 4 weeks ago, at the Fibre to the Home conference. I don't normally go to these things, but I said to myself, I'll try and find Jesus and go to one of these things. So I went to, Berlin, and I realised most of the world talking 2 gig, 3 gig, 5 gig, and poor old Ireland are still at 400 meg, 500 meg, maybe even 100 meg. Or if you're living in Clonskea, you might only get 50 meg. So there's still a lot of the country that can't get high speeds. So
do a bit of complaining there now. Who's to blame for that? Is it lack of competition? Is it that lack of ambition?
I hate to say this, but the people to blame is Ireland Inc. Because when we rolled out our telecoms network, we decided let's do it as cheap as possible. In the UK, when they rolled it out, they put in ducting that was able to carry fibre. They didn't even see fibre into the future, but they had ducting that was able to put in new lines. They've been able to elevate that over the years to fibre. We are in the situation that there's vast areas of the country that don't have ducting. They might have split lines in old copper lines, which are all being redundant now. And the replacement, it's very hard to get those people. So you could be, and it's large parts of Dublin. Never mind rural Ireland, where they just have, in a lot of cases, nothing.
But surely, I mean, am I reading wrong that it's being upgraded, that it is happening? SIRO that I mentioned, and Air says that they're going to, they took the cream, didn't they? They took the easiest customers. A little bit, a big bit. You're allowed to say it. It's a podcast.
Well, they look, in 10 years' time, be it National Broadband Ireland, be it Air, be it SIRO, the networks will have got to everyone. You know, even down
will we have to go back again to the pot and do it all again? Or isn't it Mr. Musk has put up Starlink?
Yes, which they use in mainland Europe to a large extent, and it's quite successful. Is it as good as fibre? No, it's not. But you're coming, there's mobile broadband coming through now. There is a solution coming for everybody. But it's taken so long that there's vast parts of the country that if you said to someone the solution is coming, they just laugh at you. But it is coming. But it will take a while. I noticed this morning MBI have announced 75,000 customers connected. That's a great return on your 3.5 billion.
I don't think you're serious.
It's so, in Scandinavia, you have constitutional right to broadband. If you're living out in an island, they'll drag the cable out to your island. But unfortunately, in this country, we never really took that step. And there's still a lot of people that don't have broadband. There's still a lot of people. Now, they'll tell you that, when copper lines were installed, I think it took 20 or 30 years for people to start taking up those copper lines. So it will take a while. What do they say in the movie? If you build it, they will come. And I think that will take a little bit.
And where does this leave Pure Telecom? Because you've been at it now over 20 years. You've built a nice little business. When is the for sale sign going up?
We're kind of, I'm only 38.
And a bit.
Look, we enjoy what we do.
I was taught way back when that every business should always act as if it's for sale.
Yes.
So are you acting as if it's for sale, or is it? Is it for sale?
We're in a consolidation period.
That's what I was thinking.
And if someone was to come in and give my wife the right amount of money, I'm sure she'd sell me. But we certainly. It is. There
must be a grind. I mean, I'll come back to this thing is that it is a commodity that you're now selling. There's no huge excitement about it. Back 100 years ago when I heard about broadband, first of all, I thought it was the most incredible thing ever. Now, it's like water.
No, I must say, last week I sat down with my guys. I sit down, we have a management meeting every Wednesday for the day, and we go through what we're doing, what issues do we have, and what products could we have? And I said to them, I'm fresh back in from Germany. I said, I want to sell 3, 4, 5 gigs of broadband. And they said, and how are you going to pay for it, Paul? And I said, well, this could be like crack cocaine in LA in the 1970s. We're going to have to give it away first, get people using it, seeing how good it is. Sorry, I'm not advocating crack cocaine. And then charge them for it. And that's, from my perspective, the most exciting thing at the moment that we're doing.
But that's you at 3 to 4 gigs. But at the moment, you're 1 gig.
Yes.
I didn't see anything at all on your website.
Because
the second thing, may I say, is I went onto your website and I put in my own address and you can't give me a service.
And do you have a service at the moment?
I have a service. Of course I have a service.
Well, I must say, at Pure Telecom, probably because we're connected with Air and SIRO and BT, and most of the players, if not all of the players, I can give you service where other people can't give you service. So if you can't get it from me...
I'm with Virgin.
I can't give it to you in the Virgin area. That's the only... So they're running on a different network. They're running on the TV network, so that I can't compete with that. But anywhere that doesn't have Virgin is great.
When are you going to have your 345 gigabyte service?
As soon as I can get the commercials to be able to put it out there.
By the commercials, do you need to fund?
Yes.
But
yes.
there will be...
We're working on it at the moment.
There will be infrastructure funds, private equity and people like that.
Yeah, there would be. But, we've got everything else in place. We've got a great business. We've got a great customer care team. We've got the ability to provision it. As I say, our Trap Bill Connect is working really well. So we just need the product. And that product is there, but there is a little bit of a hiccup as regards how much people will pay or not prepared to pay. So it won't be €25 a month. So what I need is for Father Christmas to come along with a nice VR toy next year for either the daddies or the kids. And they go, well, I need 2 gigs to work this. And it will, I was at Stephen Bartlett's AI conference thing in the convention centre. It is coming at us. Everything is coming. I came out of that conference and I said, oh gosh, I better learn about it. This old fogey can't keep on going. So I signed up for a UCD course on AI and I'm learning about it, and it's actually quite intriguing.
And you made a mistake. You went to the Department of Agriculture or the Agriculture unit there, and they're going to teach you all about artificial insemination.
Sometimes it feels like.
But back to, if you're going to fund, how much do you need? Would you need a couple of 100 million? A lot?
No. Okay. No, but it's an ongoing cost. So if I'm signing up, the reality of me signing a customer at the moment is that I sign them on a 12-month contract. I break even on that 12-month or on that customer after 15 months. But they have the option to leave. So I have to do whatever I can to keep that customer sticky and with Pure Telecom. So it's not so much of, I don't know whether you remember back in the day, Smart Telecom.
I do.
He decided that Oisin Fanning, that he'd give away broadband, and it was like a car crash. And Smart Telecom went down to Swanee. I'm not prepared to do that. We employ 90 people out in City West. I have to be cognizant of them as well as so I can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
And the 90, many of them are in your customer care team. Yeah. Anywhere in your book of words that tells people do not, under any circumstance, give away the secrets of customer care like another provider. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
No. What we try and do is do whatever we can to fix the problem as opposed to just throw the complaint in the bin.
And I did see that you had a few outages. Limerick was out on you in January or something like that. And I'm just wondering, are we, not Pure, but any of the other providers, are open to hackers? Do you worry about hackers at night?
Oh, just hacking, absolutely.
And do you get kind of bombarded with it, or is it one-off little tossers looking for a few quid from you, or is it actually attacks from, bad people or bad actors? Isn't that what they call them?
Well, I suppose in layman's terms, we bring the road from our office down to your driveway. It's up to you whether you put a gate on your driveway. And I would always advise people to put a gate on their driveway. And we're living in a world that there's everything you have to look at that comes in online, whether it's a mail or whether it's just an ad up on the Google. You have to look at it cynically and say, is that right? Is that correct? Can you really buy a pair of Ray-Bans for €10? And if you look at it logically, my solicitor years ago used to say to me, if it looks like a duck, it probably is a duck. And, so you have to be a little bit sensible. But in saying that, there's a lot of elderly people in the country who it's easy for me to say, I'm in the telecoms world. It's easy for me to say you have to check. But maybe if you're not so used to it, people do get caught out. I was talking to a guy there yesterday, and his father got done for €1,500.
Pigs.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Back to the other question there. When are you going to sell?
If we got the right price tomorrow morning. No.
But that's the answer, isn't it? It's true. If a big player comes in.
Yes. Well, look, if a big player came in and amalgamated and looked after what we did, yes. How are we building it to sell it? No, absolutely not.
And if you did get the big check, what would you go off and do? Because you are still young, and from my little chat with you, you're very, very keen on business.
Yeah, I actually, somebody said to me last week, and I'm on a couple of boards, and they said, you love the deal, don't you? You just love the deal. And I said, yeah, I kind of do love the deal. But you can do the deal in many different spheres, and it doesn't necessarily have to be money that you get out of the deal. Again, someone said to me, could I make a comment on your board style? And I said, sounds like it's going to hurt me in a huge way. And they said, you're a disruptor. And I said, I'm going to have to come back to you on that. And I went back and I asked one of my friends, and they said, yes, oh yeah, you're a disruptor. You cannot keep your mouth shut. You have to ask the question. You have to ask, why is this happening?
That is called good governance.
Yes, well, do you know what? I kind of, yes, and I don't make any apologies for it. Yeah. I like the truth to be out there, and yes, that's the way I am. I'm
going to ask you two very brief questions. One is, because I have to get this in, is you are, for your sins, chair of the DSPCA, Dublin Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
Yes.
And that is a wonderful thing to do. So I'm giving you, as I do, open goal. Tell the world about it, but it has to be in 30 seconds.
Okay. It's the largest animal welfare charity in the country. It's the oldest animal welfare charity in the country. It's got 100 employees and over 1,000 volunteers.
That's big.
And they do marvellous work. And I must say, I found Jesus through it. So, yes, it's good for me.
The other one is the one we ask every guest at the very end.
Yes.
Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
I thought about this morning, actually. I said,
that was very good of you.
I thought, who would I employ? And I said to myself, one of the guys, I said to him, who would I employ? You'd employ a young Paul Connell. And I went, yeah, and I would employ a young Paul.
But is there such a thing? Have you found one?
Do you know what? I love the kids that are coming out of college.
I love them.
I love this ability to kind of think outside the box. I watch that Dragon's Den every week, and I love that guy, Stephen Bartlett. I went to see him there. And I love the way you can be 31 years of age and you're as hungry as hell to get. So if you said to me, I don't know whether I could employ him, but who would I actually love just to sit beside and talk to all day? Yes, him.
Stephen Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett.
But why would you not just go off and open the checkbook and buy his knowledge?
I bought his book. That's as much as I'm buying.
No, because again, putting your charity hat on, there is a nice thing in the UK that people sell their time for charity.
Yes.
And you could probably get him to sit beside you for an afternoon or an evening or something like that.
Yeah, well.
There you go now. Insight from that great business show.
There you go.
Paul, what a pleasure. Lovely to have you on. And thank you for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Conall.
That Great Business Show. De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
It is said that Benjamin Franklin came up with that well-known phrase that in this world nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. Well, plenty of accountants make their bread and butter out of those taxes, and my next guest, just in from New York, makes her living partially from the death business. Jennifer Muldowney is the fabulously named Glam Reaper, and with that moniker, well, we just had to hear more. Dublin-born, New York-based, her business is the pre-planning of funerals, memorial jewellery, and an interesting new growth area, one's digital legacy. Jennifer Muldowney, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Or should I call you Glam?
What a welcome. Yes. I know the amount of times it gets the Grim Reaper. Wait, Glam. And then also have to live up to the name, which is awkward because, you know.
It's a brilliant name. Where, how did you come up with it?
Oh, gosh. Actually, it was, I will give a shout out. It was the British media. I think it was The Sun or the Sunday World who came up with it.
Sunday World's Irish.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. There you go. Oh, God. It was one of those anyway, for sure. And it was when my first book came out, which is now 11 years old, I think. So I'm 15 years in business, which is wild, showing my age now. But the first book came out. There was a huge full page spread of my face saying the Glam Reaper. And it just sort of stuck, which I wasn't complaining about because up until then, at every Irish networking thing I did for business, I was obviously the only funeral person and I got known as Dead Girl. So, you know, the Glam Reaper is a bit of an upgrade.
I go for Glam.
Yes, please and thank you. Yeah. So that worked.
Why the death business?
Oh, well, that story, that's obviously over 15 years ago. But I worked in Washington, D.C., not straight out of college, but within about 2 years out of college, I went to Washington, D.C., worked there for 2 years.
In what?
I was managing an Irish bar. Like I was very normal up to a certain point in my life. I was. And unfortunately, I, stupidly or not, or however way you want to, fate had it, I moved back home during the recession. Fun times.
This is 2008-ish.
It was exactly. It was. I moved home.
We've had a couple of recessions.
Yes, that's true. Actually, yeah. I know. God, it was about 2007. The end of 2007, I moved home, and I ended up going back to college. I studied PR, or as the Americans are like, sorry, what? I'm like, PR. Really wrecks my head. Anyway, it's PR, people. And it's tomato. It'll never be tomato. But I went back to college, did PR, event planning, wedding planning. As you do, I did about like 5 diplomas in once and still had a full-time job. Like what? And decided to start my own party planning, wedding planning business. Again, as you do. And it was called Roxy Pop Events. It was great. It was named after my 2 dogs, Roxy and Poppy. And then the smile stopped because then, well, we put our dog down, Roxy, and we had her for 16 years. And that's a whole other story, which maybe we will get to, but that was tough. And then 2 of my best friends lost their siblings. And I sort of found myself kind of being a couple of different roles. Obviously, I was grieving because I knew them and they were friends of mine. So I was grieving their loss. Then I had to step into the role of a best friend helping, you know, a crumbling person, like try and move one step in front of the other. And then from the event planning point of view, I found myself sitting in their funerals and sort of logistically looking at it, which sounds cold, but you know, you're grappling with your own mortality. And I mean, when you're in your 20s, you think you're going to live forever and, you know, you've got places to go and, you know, things to do. And all of a sudden you realize that that's not a reality for everyone. And, you know, we're sitting in a church and he was atheist and why isn't his music playing? He was in a band and there I'm thinking, you know, the diva that I am at that age, I was like, well, I don't want this and I wouldn't want that. And never mind sort of thinking about the death aspect of, well, you won't be around. But it just got me thinking. And And the weeks and months that followed, and just being with my friends and helping them. And it just, I know it's going to sound so sort of wooey, but it was just a calling. Absolutely, 100%. And actually, when I started to look back at my trajectory, when I was 15 years of age, and a shout out to, I worked in the morgue in Temple Village, the pub.
Oh, the
morgue. Right? Yeah, no.
I was wondering,
the morgue,
15, you were not in a morgue.
No, at 15, I worked in a bar called the Morgue.
Very famous bar.
Very famous bar. I mean, could you make it up though? So here I am nearly 10 years later going, well, no, I'm actually going to the morgue now. Not really. So anyway, so that sort of, I went home and did what most millennials do. I started Googling things and looking up, well, what would happen if I wanted to do my own pre-plan? Long story short, as us Irish like to say after we've told a very long story, long story short, I wrote a book called Say Farewell Your Way, a funeral planning guide for Ireland, and that started the whole thing.
But that's for Ireland.
Yes.
Now, you are based, and I'll say it again, New York.
Yes.
Discuss.
Bit of a jump. So the journey started there, and look, I was doing something which Irish people aren't always comfortable. It's like I was doing something foreign. Like, well, you're not a funeral director, but so then what are you? And I didn't have the budget behind me, which is a slight regret I have, to kind of seek investment and do what the Yanks do. I mean, they do it so well. They've such confidence. It's incredible. Like my confidence has grown so much since being over there. And I do wish I'd had that back then, because like the likes of Massey's and Fannigan's all brought me in, all thought it was a great idea. And it was a great idea. It is a great idea. But 15 years ago, anyway, I didn't seek investment. And so I wrote this book. I was an event planner for funerals. So a wedding, that's the easiest way to say it. A wedding planner, but for funerals. Not a funeral director. I don't deal with the body, or anything like that. And yeah, people just didn't understand it. And I did get business, but it was slow, and, you have to make a living, and I wasn't. So, but I kept at it. And so, I took jobs, and I started traveling over and back they have funeral conventions in the US. And actually, Alan, who I just had coffee with, I was telling him about these, and he said, how many of these are there? And I said, well, I could go to a funeral convention once a month, honestly, if I really wanted to. But there are major ones, and then there are smaller ones, right? There's a women's one I'm going to next week, So I started coming over to these funeral conventions and writing for the Funeral Times magazine here in Ireland, which I still do.
The Funeral
Times magazine. Yes, there is such a thing. A Funeral Times magazine that is a little magazine that talks about all things innovation and grieving. Yep.
And that's an Irish publication?
An Irish, Northern Ireland, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And
so you're their New York correspondent?
I'm their New York correspondent, yes. And they actually host every couple of years, they do an exhibition, a convention, a mini convention here in Ireland. So I was speaking at that there last September, October, I think it was, the Funeral Times Expo. Yeah. So I spoke at that last year. So that's the thing. It's great to see some of these amazing, innovative things that are happening overseas kind of creep into Ireland. So I was writing for the Funeral Times magazine. I was still plugging away with my business, but I had to do other things to kind of get money in, just to put the lights on. And eventually I just sort of thought, why don't I just move to America? They seem to understand what I'm trying to do here so much more. And I was getting encouragement. And then there was in a funeral company that I worked with who were interested in bringing me over there as well. And so it was kind of multiple different things. So I moved over there about 9 years ago now and haven't looked back, I guess. I still have clients here. I still work here. I'm still home here every 2 to 3 months. I still help a lot of people virtually. But now I am very blessed. I work for a lot of high net worth clients over there, which is great because it showcases the business as well to people who can use it.
Any big name you can talk to me about?
Oh, I'm not supposed to tell any names.
But there's always an exception.
There is a big one. There's a big one that I was involved with. I'm not going to tell you the name, but
rockstar, billionaire. What?
So I'll hint. So I was a serious fangirl when I was in college, and I was in college between 2000 and 2004. He owned a huge company with two initials that were pretty high, so early fashion on in the alphabet. I mean, I may as well just say it at this point.
AB, AC,
Yeah.
ACDC,
GE.
Dior.
No, GE.
Oh, GE, General Electric. Oh, sorry, she's nodding.
I didn't say it.
You
He
couldn't
got
be
it
a
out of
fan
me.
of General Electric, as in, you know what I mean?
From a business point of view.
Oh, right, okay.
I
Was this your man Welch?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
Jack
was.
Welch, isn't
yes,
his name? Yeah.
I was just. He was just such an icon in like all he achieved and everything. Like he was a case study. So you don't have to like somebody to be fangirling over like working kind of.
After he left, that company has gone down the old.
But that's
toilet.
it. So it's it's incredible to see people, that you've just, I guess because you're from Ireland, to see people that, this is going to sound, but like that were almost part of a fairy tale, because you read about them in books, they weren't real.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're real and in front of you and, you're just like, what? Oh my God, you're a real person. I can touch you. Boop.
Now, but you've brought me on a little journey there now.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the actual business? Where do you actually make your dollars?
Yes. So the business is two things. So my business, I am the Glam Reaper, and that is my stage name and radio name, I guess. But listen,
and remember the podcast.
And the podcast. Yes, the podcast is called the Glam Reaper Podcast. So please tune in. And actually, a bit like this conversation, we have great conversations where if you know nothing about the business and you're not bereaved, but you're just interested, like I have really interesting guests on. But I am aside from my business. Like at the end of the day, what I do is a very serious thing. And I'm talking to you and I'm laughing and I'm joking and stuff. And that's the Glam Reaper, right? But at the end of the day, I work with families who've lost people. And, who that person is aside, it's a person. It's a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a child, a granny. It doesn't matter. And so honestly, and probably because I don't really know who celebrities are, who people are, I don't care. All of that goes aside. It's like, that was your granddad, like whoever he was or whatever. So the business is two things. It's called Muldowney Memorials. We're based in Manhattan in New York City, but we travel. I've traveled the world with it. And we offer two things. One is event planning, but for funerals. So wedding planning, but for funerals. That's the easiest way for me to tell people. We can get you in touch with funeral homes, funeral directors. Like I can get you everything. We have access to that. But typically, people on that journey will have found a funeral home already. So they're linking in with me because they want either extra advice or they just want to have something where we call it off-site. So we call it that, which is kind of strange because it's on a site. But anyway, we call it off-site because it's typically the journey is a synagogue or a church or the funeral home. That's where we always historically had a wake or a funeral service. What I've now introduced to the mix is let's have it in a theatre, let's have it in a hotel, let's have it in your backyard, let's have it anywhere, on a boat, whatever it is. And whatever is meaningful. And so it's off-site. It's not in those typical places of worship.
Well, now, we will respect their privacy, so you don't have to name names.
No, yeah.
But please tell me some of the crazy funerals that you may have been involved in.
Yeah, they're not that crazy because when it comes
what's the wildest?
Well, yeah, so there's definitely things where I've been like, wow, this is amazing. Like we've turned venues, beautiful historic venues, like the Mansion House, say here in Dublin, right? We've turned something like that. No, not the Mansion House, but I'm just saying like that into a forest. So
this is to bury somebody or to send
have
them
the
on
service,
their
to
way.
send them on their merry way. So in this particular scenario, this family wanted a Viking style funeral. Now, obviously, we couldn't put them on a raft and set them alight and off into the Liffey, Now, this was in the US, but...
It's a big river called the Hudson.
Well, you can't do that either. You can't just set somebody alight and off you go, bon voyage. And so what we try to do is match people up with their expectations based on what you can do legally and what will serve the person. So I always say a funeral should be two things. It should be completely and utterly a personalised tribute to the deceased, and it should be a healing and cathartic experience for the living. There are a lot of people out there who will jump on, no, what are you talking about? A funeral's for the dead. That's it. Or there's people who say, no, what are you talking about? A funeral's for the living. I'm personally, no, it's both. It should absolutely be... It should be a funeral about Jennifer Muldowney. Of course it should. But it equally needs to be healing for everybody who's going to miss me, because everyone will.
But while you're still alive, continue with the wild stories of anything else. So we've had the forests.
Yes. So I've thrown ashes off a yacht in Cannes in France and done a service on a yacht. That's was kind of cool.
That's a question that somebody asked me. I don't think that's allowed in Ireland. I don't think you're allowed to pollute.
Okay,
Isn't that right?
So, well, top tip. Jen does have a tendency to say, just shh.
Say
Listen,
nothing.
if you don't broadcast, I'm here with my grandmother's ashes. Da, da, da. Like at the end of the day, ashes are, it's ground bone effectively. It's not doing damage per se to anything crazy, and you're not putting enough of it somewhere that it's going to do damage to the environment. And like your body physically going into the ground is going to do the same damage, right? So, except it's going to have all the carcinogens and everything else, but that's a whole other story. As I would say, and you can't physically see me, obviously, because this is a podcast, but just shh, put, finger over the mouth, say nothing, ask for forgiveness and not permission, that would be my...
we have got to move on to memorial jewellery and this other new area, digital legacy. Let's do the jewellery for a second and then we'll get on to the legacy.
Yes. So the memorial jewellery started actually with my dog. So when my granny and my dog, we put Roxy down, as I said at the start, and we got her cremated. And my grandmother, when I was left to go to Washington, D.C., had given me a miraculous medal, as most Irish grandmothers do, to keep me whole, to keep me pure. Thanks, Gran. And worked a charm. I wore it after she died because it was sort of my way to feel close to her. And I didn't get to go to her funeral, which really devastated me. It was my way to feel close to her. But people sort of took that I was very religious then. And, you were getting the Virgin Mary and that kind of cracking. So I took it off. And then when we had my dog cremated, she was my dog as much as she was our family's dog. And of course, then I was traveling and living in New York. So I kind of wanted a bit of her with me. So I started saying, well, how maybe could I put some of this ash into jewellery? Anyway, long story short, that's how the cremation jewellery was born. So we make it here in Ireland. We take a tiny piece of the ash. We do pets and humans. We fuse it with glass or encase it in the glass, and people love it.
And is this something that you saw in the States or?
It's not something I saw in the States, but it was when I kind of started looking at, when I'd already created the business and started looking at my competition, it is in the States, yeah. So it's not a major part of my business per se. Definitely that, and actually I don't think I said, so the two parts of Muldowney Memorials is the wedding planning but for funerals, and then the celebrant work. Celebrant is like a priest but not a priest, or a rabbi but not a rabbi, and you have those in Ireland as well.
And you are a celebrant?
I'm a celebrant, yes. I'm a celebrant and I train celebrants, and that's something I'm really passionate about. Like, unfortunately, and funeral directors who are listening to this, earmuffs, because this is not, you're not going to like this, but I do feel like the future is going to become more me. I do think it's going to become less about the church. I think more celebrants are going to come in, and I do think more event planners are going to come in, because people don't want to go to the church anymore. They don't want to be in a stuffy funeral home, and a lot of funeral homes, unfortunately, are stuffy, especially in America, so
there's that look, isn't there?
Yeah, it's carpeted and it hasn't been changed.
Very quiet, and there's organ going in the background.
Yeah, exactly. It's I did post it on Instagram, which you should follow us on Instagram, Muldowney Memorials, of me in a red dress, roaring laughing in a flower garden, and then a picture beside me, which was of, what's his name, Lurch from the Addams Family.
Love Addams Family.
Yeah, but which is what a lot of people assume funeral directors are, and I'm trying to defend them. They're not.
Now, bringing
the digital legacy
neatly to the digital legacy.
So that is something, the environment and the digital legacy are something I'm really passionate about, other than pre-planning your own funeral, which I will say I have a free PDF. Please reach out and I'll send it to you. The digital legacy is fascinating to me. Now, I'm not an expert in it. I'd love to be. I wish I was. It's something that you kind of had to choose, because the environment is such a huge topic. Pre-planning is such a huge topic, and digital legacy is a huge topic. I like to stay abreast of all of them, but I cannot be an expert in all three, because a digital legacy, as you know, it changes at a rate of naught. AI.
I'm waiting for the reveal. What are we talking about? Digital legacy.
What do you mean? Oh, apologies. Sorry. So your digital legacy is everything. Your podcast. So who's going to turn off your podcast when you go?
Everybody.
You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody. Yeah. But if you have an iTunes account, do you have any Bitcoin? Do you have your online banking? Obviously, your bank can organise that. But all your emails, your Twitter account, your Instagram, all of our accounts. Think of how much we live online. All of our photos are not kept in cardboard boxes anymore. They're all online.
So if I need your help, you can switch everything off for me.
No, I wish. I wish. And that's what I'm saying, is that I could have, back when I started this, because I was so fascinated with this, gone down that route. But that's the only route, as Americans would say, that's the only route I could have gone down, because you have to be obsessed 24/7 with it. I just did an AI course. And so that's why I stay abreast of it as much as I can. But I just did an AI course, and like the guy teaching it was like, in January, here's what we had. It's only 2 months later, and that has all completely evolved. So it's bonkers. It's just changing so fast that it's hard to keep up with it. And the problem with it, which is kind of why I chose to kind of go down more the planning route, is, I'm like, which country am I in? Is because legally, like the legal system is not going to keep up with it. It's just changing so fast. It's terrifying. And I'll give you an example. At this course that I just did, and I'm actually going to be speaking about the influence and impact of AI next month at the European Chamber of Commerce in New York. A gentleman recreated his granddad's voice saying hello to us all on this date. Like this was last week. His granddad's dead 10 years. His granddad said, hi, this is such and such. I really hope you enjoy his lecture, blah, 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 blah. And I asked him, I said, did that sound like granddad? He said, insanely yes. It was impeccable. I wouldn't have, he said, if I didn't know he was dead, if I hadn't seen his dead body, I would have assumed that was him. And that's, do you know what? That is amazing, but terrifying. You've got holograms. Kim Kardashian, of course, started it. You know, Tupac showed up at Coachella. Michael Jackson is doing performances. ABBA are doing performances in the UK. I mean, they're still alive. But like, do you know, technology is just, it's crazy. And it's, listen, like everything is coming in, the good is coming in with the bad. But there's been grief chatbots who are convincing, however way you want to say it, people to die by suicide. Like there's really disastrous potential for this. But at the same time, there's also for that person who does need to hear the person one last time. You know, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who her brother's death is what started me on this journey way back. And I only chatted with her about this on Thursday. And I said to her, I said, would you want to hear his voice again? Like I told her about this class. And she said, oh God, no, that would creep me out. And I said, yeah, I can understand. And I said, what about your mum? And she was like, oh God, no. And I said, do you really? I said, I said, maybe your mum wouldn't want to say, hey mom, you know, I'm here, whatever. But maybe your mom would like to just hear him say, hey ma'am. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. And that got her thinking, because she was like, oh God, yeah, she might like that. Like people go to mediums trying to connect and stuff. And I do think as well, it depends on the length of time as well. Like recovery and stuff like that. So anyway, I could talk about this for days, clearly.
Because I need to find out more about the business. You are a one-person organisation, are you?
Yes. Well, there is a team of us, but part-time.
Expand or
yes.
Like America, big place.
It is a big place. So I am, so when I say it is a one-person business, it is. But I have a team of, you know, I have some virtual assistants and I have assistants that bring in part-time. So I have a team, which I'm very blessed with. But we all work on different projects, different times and stuff. I do want to come back to Ireland eventually. Like I had such a lovely welcome there, as I said, at the Funeral Times. It's great to see amazing women coming up in the space here. Really, absolutely brilliant. Like 15 years since I started, and I'd like to think I had some sort of an impact in that. And they all tune into the podcast, which is just lovely to hear as well. But there's so much I want to do in the business. There's so much potential in the business. And I just, you know, I am a one-woman show, so I can't do everything, but I do want to expand more. We're expanding into Florida right now, which is kind of terrifying and exciting at the same time.
But why Florida? Is it just because the age profile of people who live there? Or?
Don't make me say it. Its nickname is God's Waiting Room.
Okay.
Which is terrible. I am not an ambulance chaser, please note. No, it's terrible. The reason I am expanding into Florida, honestly, is because New Yorkers retire to Florida and then they come back up to be sort of buried or cremated or whatever it is in New York. So I kind of need to straddle the two of them anyway for logistics purposes. But
we are kind of out of time.
That's okay.
We have a final question.
Oh God.
This is the one.
This is the one.
Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Okay, so there's no one person. I mean, there's a lot of people I would like to hire, but I would hire the entire marketing team of Aldi. And I'll tell you for why. Marketing in the funeral business is practically impossible. It's extremely difficult to do. I have a degree in business and marketing. And I remember years ago, and I'm not going to name who it was, but I remember years ago seeing a coupon in an Irish newspaper or some that came in our door it was a percentage or a monetary value off a funeral. I thought, are you kidding me? Like, what? A coupon for a funeral? But I can understand where they were coming from. It's so difficult because some people do it with jest, and some of the Americans do it, and some of them are cringe, but some of them do it with jest. But you have to be careful because, like you and I talking, if we just met on the street, like, I don't know if you've lost somebody yesterday, a week ago, and it's very fresh. Like, it's such a difficult business to be in, and like it has to be like a warm hug, and that's how my brand is. It's like a warm hug, and if it doesn't feel like that, it doesn't go on our website. But at the same time, I'm lucky because I have the Glam Reaper where I can have the kind of franker conversations and the humour. But you have to be so cognizant of who's in front of you, and when you're on the internet, that's everyone, right? So I love the way Aldi have just every country they go to, they culturally get involved. Like some of those ads, they have hit the Irish people on the head. Oh my God, like that barbecue ad. Remember where the guy is coughing up a lung? Yep. And he's like, Mary, you're fine, I'm grand. And he's nearly dying, and it's brilliant. They seem to get the culture in each country they go to. Also like the carrot family at Christmas. Oh my God, stop.
Don't
brilliant.
Get that at all.
I love it. It's making something so banal like groceries exciting, especially even for kids.
That's the bit I miss, the excitement.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I don't get it.
I love it. But I'm here for you, Aldi.
And if you are looking for the marketing team, a great friend of ours called Rita Kerwin has just left the marketing team there, and she's joined Flowgas. And I met with her the other day, and she is excited with what Flowgas is going to bring to town very soon.
Very exciting.
We might even have Flowgas on. You're heading back to USA.
I am. Tomorrow.
Oh, dear. Well,
10 a.m.
When you are expanding into Florida and beyond, please come back and tell us. What we're really trying to find out is, what's the next big thing in funerals? Like, besides, is there something really big happening in funerals that we should all know about?
Oh, there's lots of big things happening. I mean, well, you've just got alkaline hydrolysis in Ireland. In Meath, there's a lady who just started alkaline hydrolysis, which is like water cremation, is another name for it. But composting, human composting is a huge thing that's happening. Okay. There's a lot of big things, Conall. I'll give you a light of everything. But
I presume if I listen in to the Glam Reaper podcast, I will learn all.
Yes, we talk about everything.
Cool. Jennifer, what an entertainment. Yes, you are. Jennifer Muldowney, the Glam Reaper. Thank you for joining us on that great business show.
De facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. No more razor burns or irritation. A spa treatment for your face. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
It's all go, let Chrissy know on thatgreatbusinessshow.com.
That Great Business Show.
And a big shout out for Fergal Kenny of Digital Irish in New York for introducing me to Jennifer Muldowney. She is a hoot. And that's it for episode 189 of That Great Business Show. Great business insights and inspiration. And regular listeners know that we are true believers in business mentors. So make sure to check out mentorswork.ie to unlock the full potential of your business. It's a fully government-funded mentoring program, and it's designed to fuel the growth of your business, no matter the sector or the size. And I'm delighted to have heard from a couple of regular listeners that they have already signed up for the program, having heard about it here. Sign up for email updates at thatgreatbusinessshow.com and we will send you your own personal copy of the podcast. Share it, like it, and give us 5-star reviews. It really does help. And of course, give us your ads and you can engage with Ireland's finest businesses. We record here at the Dublin South Podcast Studios, where today's studio engineer is Connor Eustace. A huge thanks to him, as always, for his professionalism. Later, studio managers Peter Rice and post-production engineer Neil Horner twiddle their knobs to ensure we remain the world's best-sounding business podcast. So for me, Conall Morain, buchas to you all, agus slán tunnel.